Good
Hello.
morning. It's Friday again, thankfully. I don't know where this week has gone, but I'm really happy today to be joined by Poornima. Hey, Poornima.
Hello, Callum, and hello, everyone.
Hey, how you
Hello
doing?
again.
Have you had a busy week?
Yes, incredibly busy week.
Yeah. Uh, I have too. Marcin has as well. Marcin's off snowboarding right now, so
He is brave.
yeah, I'm not quite sure. Well, one, how he's managed to do that, and two, he's got a newborn baby, so I'm
Yeah.
not entirely sure how that works. But yeah, I hope Marcin's enjoying himself. He said he might try and dial in from the mountains, but I think that's maybe a bit ambitious.
He tried to do something of that sort last year, isn't it?
Yeah,
Last year or was it
he's
the year
tried.
before?
He's
Yeah.
tried a couple of times. It never really works. Cool, but yeah, it's Friday. It's been a busy week. I've had a lot on my plate this week, but still managed to catch up with some of the Umbraco news. And as we've titled this week's episode, "Happy Sweet 16 Umbraco." Umbraco turns
Yes.
16 years old today. This week, Tuesday, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was shocked to learn that it was. I think it's the 16-year open source anniversary. So it was started a little bit earlier, but it's 16 years since it was open source. And if you follow Niels on Instagram, Niels actually shared some pictures of him and a few of the team early on back then releasing it, which is cool.
It's pretty nostalgic.
Yeah, it definitely is. And of course, to celebrate, I think it was Warren that was leading the charge. He suggested that we should all kind of dress up smart and celebrate. And I've selected a few of my highlights here. Of course, Marcin. We have to say hi to Marcin.
Absolutely. Hello, Marcin.
Great Gatsby-esque thing. That's fantastic.
He rocks it totally.
He does, and Owen as well. This is incredible.
Yes, I love this picture from Owen.
Yeah. And I think there was some chatter actually that maybe he's got his Umbraco socks on there. There was some chatter that maybe actually we could have an Umbraco kilt as well. That would be a good a good prize, and perhaps maybe a bingo prize or something.
Ooh.
In Scotland, every family has their unique tartan, and it would be kind of cool to have an Umbraco community tartan. It would be probably bright orange or something, so maybe not overly attractive.
It's a good idea, by the way, but I love this picture. And then there was Bushra's.
Bushra took this to the next level, doing like a whole photo shoot. I think her sister's boyfriend is a videographer or something, so she's got in-house help with this clearly. But yeah, looking good, Bushra.
Yes.
And Warren as well, looking incredibly dapper with his Kim sticker and hat. So yeah, happy birthday,
Warren.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, he was definitely charging it all up. He did put real life into that whole thing of celebrations, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And in fact, Umbraco's birthday wasn't the only birthday this week. Did you see that .NET, as in the .NET stack, the .NET framework, it turned 19 years old this week as well on last Saturday. Which when I then learned that Umbraco was turning 16, I was incredibly shocked that it was developed on a relatively new modern
framework. Yeah, exactly. I did see a tweet going from someone saying, "Is there anyone around who's been using .NET right from the day one?" I didn't quite relate it to that what you just spoke about now, but it all makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. And I saw that tweet too, and Warren was sharing some pictures from the Umbraco 5th birthday, which was back in 2009, so 12 years ago, of people. And there's still people around. There's, Lee Messenger, there's pictures of Paul Marden, of Laurie, of people that have kind of been in the community a very long time. And it's great to see that they're still here. So
I started using C# back in 2005. Oh, that is pretty. That was pretty new then. Yes, I do remember. I think it was version 1.1 that I used.
Very nice. Let's not talk about when I started using it, but I do remember at least using Visual Studio 2005 to actually play with Visual Basic and building like programs in Visual Basic, which was fun, shall we say. But yeah, happy birthday to Umbraco and
Happy birthday, Umbraco.
big milestones there. Now Umbraco's 16. Does it mean it's going to get into that kind of moody, rebellious teenage years? Don't want to talk to my parents anymore. I'm going to move out.
No, I bet not, and I hope not either.
I think Umbraco's maturing day by day, as we've seen in the releases recently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so wonderful to see it growing, getting new ideas from everywhere, new initiatives, everything. Yeah. So it's fantastic.
Definitely, and it's an exciting time to be in the .NET space, I think, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Kind of broadly talking about open source stuff, did you see this week GitHub showed off a new way of visualizing your contributions? We've spoken actually quite a bit on umbraCoffee before about how perhaps visualizing contributions in this way the most healthy. It's maybe leads to obsession. You can clearly see sometimes on a contribution graph where someone might have burned out, where you've just got green and then a blank. But GitHub Skyline this week shows off kind of your contribution graph. And I was looking at mine, and this to me is really interesting. This is for 2020, and this blank space here is kind of February and March time in the run up to the pandemic, where I was preparing to do the US roadshow, and so a lot of my time was actually not going into contributing code, but to contributing loads of other things. And equally, this gap here, right in the center there, is October, where I did a whole bunch of events. So it's quite cool to see real life things reflected there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I also took the liberty of looking at your contribution graph, Poornima, and not to put anyone to shame, but this is truly impressive.
Yeah, I was amazed when you showed me that before we started the broadcast. It sounds healthy and unhealthy both at the same time, you see?
Yeah.
That first half is absolute madness. I don't want to think what I did there.
January, February time, you were clearly going all in on pull requests to open source projects, which is great. And we said this before. I have no idea how you do it, because of course you're a full-time mum. You're working a day job as well. I have no idea how you can manage to contribute that much when I don't have half of those stresses, and I still can't contribute that.
No, I don't know how I managed to do it either.
Well,
maybe I.
Yeah.
No, it is healthy and unhealthy at the same time, as I said, because you clearly know the reason for some of the additional physical strain that you have at times. But again, it's nice to see that contributions,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of contributions, let's dive into some releases, because there's actually been a few interesting ones this week, and a bit more that we can talk about too. So a big one coming out of Australia from Shannon. Is Examine version 1.1. Now, this is the first time we've actually had like a point release of Examine. If you remember back to Examine for V7 and prior, it was all version 0. something.
Yeah.
And I think we're on 0.91 or something. Now, Examine 1 came out with V8, and Examine 1.1 is a bunch of enhancements on top of that, including a bunch of community contributions. I'm happy to say I managed to get a couple in there as well, actually. I've put 2 PRs into this release. So there's a whole bunch of performance and stability fixes, contributions from people like Chad and Tim and Dee as well. Some really awesome stuff, and I think this is just going to make Examine even better. I know that I can now do some updates to my faceting project to work with some of these new features, hence the pull requests I made there too. So that's looking really awesome. You can upgrade now if you're running Umbraco 8.
Brilliant. I've been working on a project which uses Examine heavily, so it's quite nice to see that this release in that particular context. I've
been getting really into Examine and search and like the nitty gritty of it. Specifically, I've got a few projects like the fasting one and the search extensions project, and just trying to see how I can push it in directions that maybe haven't been done before, or do some things to make search easier and cleaner. And I've learned a hell of a lot whilst doing it.
It's a very, very powerful tool.
Incredibly. And I don't think until you learn properly about Lucene itself, you don't necessarily understand the full power
Yeah,
of it.
it's still quite an abstract topic when you think just from the XML side of things. You really need to get into that Lucene level of things to understand the concept in all its power, I feel. Yeah.
Definitely. And a call to action as well on this release. Shannon has asked for any help with documenting. He has a documentation site, but we actually talked about this last week, I think, Poornima.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
documentation site is great, except you go to like searching and go, oh, maybe he's, fair play. He has expanded upon some of them, but there's a lot of to-dos in there. A lot of things, to do, fill this in.
Yeah.
People can contribute examples to get these docs up to scratch, and it would be really cool. That's examine. We talked about Ecstatic, this static site generator for Umbraco that Sam built on umbraCoffee a couple of weeks back, and he's been kind of encouraged by the community to make this a V1 release. So we now have Ecstatic V1, including a feature that Aaron Sadler requested for wildcard paths. No more beta. You can go use it. It's great to see that in only a few weeks it's evolved, really.
Yeah.
But yeah,
fantastic work. I haven't tried it out myself, but I saw the episode. I read about this and like, yes, this makes sense. Fantastic work.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've also not had a play, but I think I said on that episode I've built one of these in the past. I'm sure a few people have, where they've had to render pages as static markup. And this does a whole lot, plus some additions with feedback from the community. So really great job.
Fantastic work. Yeah.
Now this one, I'm not sure if we should be talking about this. So Joe, I'm sorry, but I found it on Our and it looks cool. So we're going to discuss it. And this is something that I've tried 2 or 3 times to do in Core. And I started a whole issue discussing how we could achieve it as part of the recent icon changes. But when you get in the back office and you go to add an icon and you try and search for something and it's never what you expect. The thing recently I had was you want, say, a shopping cart, and you might type the word cart, but it's not labeled as cart, it's labeled as basket.
Basket, yes.
It's good to have synonyms for some of these words. Now, umbracosaurus is the thesaurus of Umbraco icons in the back office, and allows you to filter them and do, have synonyms. So the example here was, spanner, but you might want to have wrench as well. And people will be able to search by that, or even tool, and be able to find things that way. Now, I think it looks to me like this is something that Joe's been working on, because these look like maybe automated builds that are going out to the package. But I would love to see this. I'm going to give this a try and see if this works. Code's obviously on GitHub. Looks awesome.
I love the name. I love the whole context of it.
Yeah, I love this too. And the icon as well. We need more friendly
icons, definitely. Yeah.
Good work, Joe. I'm going to give that a try. Oh, and of course, Matt Barlow. We spoke about this a few weeks back. He's open sourced the Bulma starter kit. His Amplify starter kit, which is based on Bulma and a few other technologies. He's now open sourced the front end libraries as well. So if you wanted to just take this as a pure front end project and do a static HTML site, you can do that. A lot of effort's gone into making this project, and it's phenomenal to see it open source. And of course, buy him a coffee if you appreciate it.
Absolutely, that starter kit looked really amazing.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Now, Poornima,
yes,
was it the 1st of February that you were awarded as Microsoft MVP?
Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you.
The contributions you've made over the past year, as we just saw from your contribution graph, but as I know from seeing you at a whole bunch of events, Umbraco or not, you've been busy.
Yeah.
So yeah, very well deserved. Congratulations. One of your big focuses is Blazor.
Yep.
Now, we were talking before this. Blazor for me is, well, scary. I think to say it's scary, but also I really do struggle, and I'm nervous about it. I struggle to see where it fits into my tech stack, but also the general .NET tech stack. And specifically, it just brings me back to things like Silverlight, where it's a proprietary Microsoft technology. They kind of went all in on it. Everything's got to be Silverlight. It's the only way you're going to build applications, and then they just pulled the plug. Now, Blazor definitely does seem a bit more matured.
Yeah.
But it scares me. Now, you had some words of confidence for me there, which were, it's not designed to replace JavaScript. It's a tool there to help, and it's because it's so nicely integrated into the .NET ecosystem.
Not only that, it's very clever to see how they have utilized the JavaScript interop and the security sandbox to run .NET within the sandbox. But at the same time, you can write JavaScript to talk from C# code to your JavaScript code, as well as call the C# code back from the JavaScript code. So it's kind of really nicely integrated. I was at the NDC conference this year, so I managed to see what is kind of upcoming in .NET 6 in general, as well as some of the Blazor features. I've got the notes here. It seems to think of distant past to me now, but Steve Sanderson did highlight or demo some of the newer features as well.
Steve Sanderson is the kind of lead dev on Blazor at Microsoft.
Blazor. I love his talks. I think I've gone back to YouTube and watched each of his talks on Blazor, just because I find his talks are incredibly informative and well put together. So he did demo some of the things, and plus, of course, it's all open source at the moment. So if you go through the issue tracker, just like you go through the issue tracker in Umbraco, you get a lot of information. The thing I find interesting is Steve and the team takes their time to come back to people on the issue tracker and advise them on what is good and what is not as well, just like the HQ advises us on the issue tracker. Yeah. So again, a pool of knowledge waiting for you in there. And of course, Docs is open source, so feel free.
It's definitely the hot topic of the moment, the hot technology. People are talking about it a lot. You can look at any conference lineup and see at least 3 talks about Blazor in some form, and you've done some great talks as well, of course. But why are we talking about this? Well, this week, Microsoft released the preview 1 of .NET 6. Now, what? It was only November that we got .NET 5. It's been months. That's true. They have a release cadence where they're doing one major version of .NET every year, and .NET 6 is the next long-term support version for .NET. And more we're seeing Blazor becoming a big focus of these releases. So with .NET 5, it kind of made a lot of Blazor possible, and with .NET 6, they're enhancing that. So there's a whole bunch of changes and improvements to the runtime. I think you could maybe brand this release as the kind of cross-platform enhancements, because there's a lot of stuff with cross-platform UI, which is this thing called MAUI, multi-platform app UI. And the idea is kind of all of the components you'd have used in Xamarin to make, the header, the footer in a mobile app are abstracted, and it's consistent. You could then build a desktop app, or you could build a mobile app with the same code base, which is really nice, just more convergence. But as we were talking about Blazor, this really stuck out to me. Blazor desktop apps. So this idea is that you could use the Blazor syntax, which is effectively Razor, and build desktop class applications for it. And looking at it, it reminds me a lot of, say, Electron. And it seems like Microsoft are kind of going all in, tackling Electron with, actually, you're a C# dev, you can write Razor and have an Electron style app that runs on desktop. And I assume this is also going to be possible for mobile too. So you could run an app on mobile.
Blazor has mobile bindings. So they are already into that spectrum, I think. I haven't played around with the mobile bindings, but Chris Sainty has blogged a lot about the mobile bindings. And of course, there's the PWAs, which are like perfect fit for mobile apps again. And there's a fantastic talk by Steve about the PWA and Blazor as well. I think he did that in NDC Oslo 2019 or 2019, I think. So there's all sort of things going about Blazor. It is truly, I think, the blazing word out there.
It definitely is. And as Warren is saying, I also agree. I can get my head around this concept of I can write a desktop application in C#-ish Razor syntax, whereas before, if I was doing Xamarin, you have to learn XAML. It's like horrible XML-based markup language for apps, and it doesn't make sense. This does click for me, so I can see that Blazor is maybe going to become part of my toolkit. Maybe I'm not going to do front ends in it, but perhaps I can start building things. And of course, this .NET 6 release makes a lot of those things more possible. Another thing you mentioned, this is a huge post. I don't want to go into, like, we could talk for hours about all of this. There's hundreds of things in here. But one of the things I think relates quite a lot to the Umbraco community is this openness. Now, they, as you said, the Blazor team are really collaborative. They talk, help on the issue tracker. There is now if I can find the link somewhere in here. Yes, they have an open public roadmap for .NET and .NET 6, including Blazor. So you can go to themes of .NET, and this will tell you basically everything that they're trying to tackle with this release. And it all links through to GitHub issues, and you can go and engage and see, and give your feedback on them. Maybe for the average Umbraco developer, this isn't something you care about, but maybe it's just worth a read to kind of learn about what's going on in the ecosystem, be more aware of what's going into .NET. There's a ton of information in here.
Yep, there seems to be really much going on, and as you said, it is the most exciting time to be a .NET developer and a developer in general.
I think so. I've been saying this for a few years, but I get blown away every time I see a new release. .NET's becoming far more stable. I personally love Azure, and I love the kind of tight, deeper integration of a lot of the Microsoft tooling with .NET and Azure. It just makes it a really natural combination.
Yes, it just feels seamless. Yeah.
And of course, so Umbraco, as we talked last week, Umbraco running on .NET 5 will actually run on .NET 6 as well. So by the time Umbraco releases in August on .NET 5, by November, when we get a stable .NET 6, you'll be able to run Umbraco too. I would hazard to guess that you could probably run Umbraco in its current, the vNext of Umbraco in its current form already on this preview version. I've not tried it. Maybe Warren, who I know is watching, could give this a go because he likes to tinker with those kind of things. But this is our future as Umbraco devs.
Absolutely. It just sounds promising, and it's all coming together, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, amongst releases, not just .NET 6, but Entity Framework 6 Preview 1 as well. For those that care about that, it doesn't really affect us in the Umbraco world just yet, but it might in the future. Alrighty, so let's jump to some other news then. Umbraco, obviously we announced that it was their birthday, but you've probably seen that install count at the bottom of a lot of Umbraco pages, and they put it in slide decks. It's been wrong for a few years. It's barely moved. But with eight, well, at least with 8 and some of the recent stuff they've done, they've improved their tracking of versions, and we've now got an updated install count, which is a whopping over 730,000 installs, which is jumped up 200,000 since the last time install count was updated, which is very impressive. And the thing I was more impressed by was Lee Kelleher. His insider analysis. He's been tracking himself, I'm not quite sure how, the number of installs, at least I think probably what the counter's doing. And he says that with the past 2 years, we're averaging 140,000 new installs a year, where if you compare to pre-V8, that was only 60,000 installs a year. So there's a lot of encouragement there that shows, Umbraco's maybe becoming a more mature product, more mature, more appealing to more people. And of course, for us Umbraco devs, that just means more work. Can't really complain about it.
I've said it time and again. V8 looks like really, really polished. Absolutely polished. I don't think I can go back to any V7 projects and look at the interface because it's that polished.
Every time, every single time I have to use V7, I'm sorry, but it's so painful. It's the equivalent of using V4 or V6 when you've been using V7 for a while. The UI is clunky. It's just not very slick. But V8 is a whole nother level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so polished. It's so smooth. It's almost like, it's been built with kind of understanding our mouse movement somehow.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, it's only going to get better. I am really excited, in case you can't tell, about what the future holds for not just Umbraco, but .NET in general. And as Bjarke's saying, Bjarke has tested the Net 6 Preview 1, and Umbraco does work. So that's fantastic. Great job, Bjarke and team. Let's move away from .NET for a bit. I saw this week, you've been busy doing something else. Umbraco announced a new course, a new training course, the Umbraco, the accessibility course, which of course we discussed last week, was kind of built by Sigma, accessibility experts, and it became available on Wednesday this week. But I believe you got early access, is that right?
Yes, I was really lucky to have been asked to test the course out and pilot it. The first thing that I said is that it's a great initiative. It's a great idea, which was brought up by Sigma, and then HQ worked on it with Sigma to provide the course. So as I said in my feedback, it is not a course that is only for developers. I think it appeals to a lot more than developers alone, like project managers or product owners who wish to understand accessibility as a concept. And the standout for me is that personal aspect about accessibility. First of all, I think the Umbraco is kind of a trailblazer, offering an accessibility course as a part of the training that it provides. So it's really one of the Umbraco is like probably the sole platform which offers accessibility course outside its kind of norm. That's one thing. But like true to the nature of Umbraco about being about people, there's that personal aspect which Molly brings about to this course. I don't want to reveal too much, but it is fantastic to kind of understand that from her perspective.
So Molly is one of the accessibility consultants from Sigma that's worked on this course. Let's shout them out. Why not? So Molly, Danny, Rachel, Shane, and Kath have all put a lot of effort into that course. We've got a few Umbraco MVPs amongst that list as well, which is awesome to see. But I was impressed to see the breadth of the topics that it covers. So it was inclusive design, which you wouldn't expect necessarily from an Umbraco oriented course. Inclusive design, assistive technologies, how all of that works within Umbraco, and then how to create accessible HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So some great best practices there.
Yes.
And so it says it's around 2 hours. Is that?
Yes, 2 hours.
2 hours, and at your own pace, because it's nice.
It's on demand, so it was incredibly helpful. I don't have to sit a full day or half a day in front of a computer.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And of course, there's a 25% introductory discount as well if you're interested. So might as well give it a try up till the 3rd of March. I know I'm going to be doing that because it's definitely something that I need to brush up on. I think there's going to be a lot of great knowledge in there. I know every time I've had Rachel or any of the Sigma team actually on umbraCoffee, we've been blown away by the level of depth or insight they give that maybe I would never have considered.
Absolutely. So I think at DDD last year, Rachel spoke about her talk on inclusive design, and she incorporated how accessibility testing can be kind of integrated into the Azure DevOps pipeline as well. It just blew my head away. I think I've got the concept, or I termed it right here, but all things which are exciting.
Indeed. Links will be down below for that. Go check it out. I'm certainly going to as well. Whilst we're talking about other good community initiatives, things that have been going on in the community, Scrift, of course, it's been a staple in the Umbraco community for many, many years. But they've put a call out this morning, and we can't shout this loudly enough. They want to hear from some new voices in the community, from maybe underrepresented people that would love to get their voice heard. They want to help you do that. So get in touch with Scrift and maybe suggest an article. And I would say Janae, Erica, Kyle, lovely people. They will help you. If you've not quite got your idea formed, go to them with a rough concept, and they'll help you pull that together and make it a reality. Because they're a truly great team, and like I say, they'll make you do your best work. I think it's a great,
absolutely, really helpful people, and it's a really pleasant working experience as well when you go through the whole writing process.
Indeed, and actually, this ties really nicely in with, look at all those friendly faces of authors there. Ties really nicely in with a new section of the Umbraco community site that's been launched today, literally 10 minutes before we went live, called Umbracians in Action. And Scrift are the first community initiative to have a page. I know that other community initiatives are going to have pages here soon, as and when they come. But Scrift, all the information you need to know about Scrift is here. You get to see the friendly team behind it. And yeah, just get to learn a bit more. Hopefully this will add a lot more depth to the community site as more of these come on board and encourage new people to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Alrighty. Okay, we're talking about contribution. It's that time of year. We've got to talk about Code Garden. Blah blah blah. We do this every year. I'm pretty sure for like 6 months of the year, our umbraCoffee episodes are filled with, is it Code Garden yet? There's a call for speakers. This is the speaker lineup. But Code Garden's going to be a bit different this year, as was already announced. It's going to be virtual. There's going to be a slightly different setup. It's 2 days virtually, but there is a call for speakers open, and that opened up on Monday, I think, on February 15th, and it runs all the way through to March 15th. So if you've got an idea, something you want to present, submit it. There's a link, again, be down below, for you to share your idea. And they're looking for a whole bunch of different topics. So things ranging from business, developer life, creative, and technical talks. The talks will be 30 minutes long, which is good because Code Garden talks have generally been a bit longer. And I think this will allow us to squeeze even more content into those virtual days, which will be amazing. So yeah, get submitting an idea, get thinking. At least you've got a couple of days, 2 or 3 weeks to do that. And again, a big focus here on diversity. Some new voices would be amazing to see at Code Garden. I know that Arnold has shared that they don't want Code Garden to be just any old Code Garden, but put online. They want this to be a different format. There's so much potential to encourage people from further afield that wouldn't maybe have been able to get to Code Garden before. I know Jason's saying in the chat, at least he'll be able to make it this year. People struggle to justify it with work and families as well. Yeah. So they want to make Code Garden a different experience. Let's not expect it to be.
I think it's going to be great, because when we had the Doug Fest last year, I think it was one day when the community really enjoyed, because personally, I could just put the video side by side and do my work. It was one of the best days that I could ever have in 2020. So I'm looking forward to the same in June.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll still inject a bit of community fun and community spirit into that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how the format will come together and how we can make that appeal to a broader audience. Maybe it means that the next in-person Code Garden is going to be the most oversubscribed event they can do. All these people from all over the world wanting to travel.
Definitely.
Yeah,
we are coming.
Speaking of events, I think maybe one of the last in-person events I saw you at was the Reading meetup in maybe December of 2019. I mean,
was it?
It may be. Did I see you at Spark in March?
No, no, it was the London meetup.
February London meetup.
Yeah.
Was I there? I'm not sure if I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah.
Maybe I was there, but it's been a while since we saw each other in person, and it's also been a while for the Reading Umbraco user group, which would be your local user group as well. And John is bringing it back. it's coming back in 2 weeks' time, Thursday, 2 weeks' time. It's going to be online, .NET Core focused event. I know Carl Saguna is going to be doing a talk that he did in Edinburgh. That should be really cool. And I believe between the Reading group and the Leeds group, they're going to be alternating. So you'll notice that Leeds are doing a lunch meetup on the 4th, same day, just different hours. So you can have 2 doses of Umbraco goodness in that one day. And I think every other month, Leeds is going to do a lunch meetup on the day when the Thames, on the day when the Reading one happens, so that there's a bit of a balance there. Nice idea.
Brilliant, yeah.
Okay, final home stretch. From Leonard. Leonard's done a blog post about different ways you can hook into the AngularJS of the back office and how you can, do some wonderful things, firing your own code when certain things get clicked or hiding different bits of the back office. Very, very detailed blog here.
Yeah.
A fantastic resource, though, if you really want to customize the back office in a way that may be beyond just skinning or creating custom property editors. That's on the umbraco.com blog. We'll let you give that a read. We missed this last week because I think it was announced just as we went on air. There is a new hire in the Umbraco Cloud feature team, which is Mads as one of their new student programmers. And he joined the team in December, actually. Great to see even more people joining the HQ team. Oh, and now I've got to put my banner up. It's my favorite segment. The Adolfi appreciation, I don't know, can't think of that. Segment. But Dennis, again, wonderful work. Love your work. This week has been doing a lot of chatter on Twitter, at least, about Kubernetes and .NET and Umbraco and how all of that fits together. And is it even, something that we should be considering or caring about? Something I've written a Script article about before. I know that Dennis, they're currently running a Kubernetes cluster with Umbraco in it, I guess. But these are technologies that we're probably going to have to become more familiar with .NET Core, and maybe we can start using containers properly, more efficiently than we have been historically. So Dennis has done 2 blogs this week, configuring TLS certificates in a Kubernetes cluster. Nice. And also getting your assembly version from an Umbraco site. And why does this matter? Well, in fact, it's a good question. Who out there, maybe pop it in the chat, who versions their client projects? Who puts a tag or something in the Git repo to say, this is this version of the software? I know that I tag, but we definitely don't do kind of build versions on DLLs or anything. So this is interesting. It's just a nice way of seeing, maybe for a project manager, QA manager, he said here, can ping the site and check what version of the site's actually running. It's a cool approach. And some final bit of news. This is interesting. Have you seen Episerver has renamed itself?
Mm.
They're now Optimizely. They bought a company back in December, I think, called Optimizely, and now they have rebranded as Optimizely. So Episerver is no longer. That's a really interesting feeling. I don't know what to think about that at all.
Is it the same Optimizely that we're talking about, which helps with A/B testing?
I believe so. I've not really looked into it in too much depth, but I know that Optimizely was it was kind of a personalization platform. So you say to this segment of users show this. Episerver's always had some personalization stuff in there, but I think this probably just bolsters it. But it's an interesting proposition. They've kind of, by doing this, moved from being a content CMS to a personalization product or a personalization CMS. And it's the same with Sitecore. You associate that being a CMS, but it's predominantly a personalization platform as well. Just shows what lots of money probably does to you. Umbraco's not going to be renaming itself to something anytime soon, hopefully. Yeah, and that was all the news from this week. Still quite a lot of stuff, a lot going on.
Yeah, there's lots going on.
A lot to be excited about too, I think. A lot to be excited about too.
True, in a good way.
Yes, indeed.
So do you have any confetti for the 16th birthday of Umbraco?
Confetti? No, I don't. I'm a pretty boring household. We don't generally have confetti or champagne to pop just waiting. Maybe I should have prepared something better. You were complaining, Poornima, that I've been tweeting too much about donuts, and it's been making me hungry. Maybe I usually get donuts for a celebration. Maybe I need some donuts.
Yeah, it's a very good excuse to have donuts. Treat yourself on Umbraco's birthday.
Any excuse. Cool. Well, that's it. What does this weekend have in store for you?
Nothing.
Good.
I'm just going to sit down and read a book.
Good. Take some time away from your screen. Don't worry about that GitHub contribution graph. You're already twice as good as everyone else's, so don't worry. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today, Poornima.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, we'll see you all next week when Marcin will be back from snowboarding. Hopefully no broken bones. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.